The war god took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it.
Eden family, it is week 1 of our budgeting series. We are so excited to go through all of this series with you. There is so much that we want to share. Again, we've had people reach out, and this is for those people, right? I want to make sure that you guys know that you're not alone. We're all in this together, and this is why we're doing a mini series on budgeting. So today's topic is really a really high level overview of budgeting. What it might look like from a very high level, but also it won't be comfortable. And so that's kind of the angle that we're going to come from today. Let's start with our opening scripture. So Matthew 16:24 through 27. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done." Thoughts? So many.
I mean, just like always, it's a lot here.
Yeah.
But just these three that you read, this is given a quick glimpse of judgment, because he comes in and he says, "Follow me." To follow me, these things that you would have to do, because who would give up, and at the end that the Father would come and for everything that's been done will be repaid. So he gives us a quick glimpse of judgment here, but what I like about this is he tells them, like, there's a decision you have to make, because right now at the time of this, the world is set on a path to go to hell. There is no connection to God right now, and there's no savior. Like, the connection had been broken, and everybody was on a clear path to go to hell. And so he says, like, you got to make a decision. And there was only one thing at that time, but he's come to reconnect that. And now he comes and put a fork in the road, because now he says, okay, you could be with the world, and that's on a clear path to hell, or you can follow me. And he kind of tells them, like, but it's gonna cost you. Because what he's saying is, think about this. It's gonna be, you might lose some relationships here. It's gonna be some sacrificing. And you're gonna have to give up the word. You're gonna have to deny yourself, which yourself is your flesh. You're gonna have to deny your flesh. And what it tells you to do, deny our flesh every day. So it's like there's a war. You're gonna have to deny yourself every single day to follow me. And it's gonna be contrary with what the world wanna do. The culture, the trend, all of this. And it's like, you're gonna, if you truly want to make this decision and follow me, you got to think about all of that and what you might lose in the process of doing that. Family, friends, relationships, because not everybody is going to be okay with you following me. And the other thing I like about this is, the time that he says it, the law was still in force, because the law hadn't been filled at that time. So he tells the disciples, you're gonna have to deny yourself and follow me. And so we see Jesus flexes a little bit here, because of the confidence that he has that he's gonna fulfill the mission that he was out on. Because he tells them to follow him. So the disciples, like, he had told the disciples, I gotta die. And the disciples like, okay. But then he also says, I'm gonna raise back up in 3 days. And the disciples like,
all right, Lord.
It's We know that they had a struggle believing it because nobody was there on the third day at the tomb. Like, hey, he said about this time, we waiting. And actually, women had went. It doesn't give the full name, but Mary was one of them. We don't know which Mary it was, but the women had went with spices because they was expecting a dead body. So again, it just shows we didn't fully believe. We struggled with that last part of you're gonna be raised. But this is where, again, Jesus tells them to follow him even then, before that connection was reestablished with God. So he says to follow him. And again, that just speaks to the confidence of the ultimate server, that he was going to fulfill the law, make that connection back, and now following me, because now, again, there's a fork in the road. Now there is a way back to the Father, and it's through me.
Okay, I think it's clicking. So you're saying the fact that Jesus says this is like proving his confidence in the fact that he was going to fulfill what he came to do.
Confidence.
Okay.
Because again, he had went to the cross. The law was still in effect. This was before everything that was going to happen. But he tells them to follow me before he said to follow me before it was completed.
I see what you're saying.
Like, is that not like the confidence that he had? Follow me, because again, follow you where? To death? To follow you, like you just said you're gonna die. So you want me to, and that's what the disciples like, well, you just said you about to die. You want us to follow you there? And then that's why the second part of, but I'm gonna raise back up, and I don't know, Jesus, like that's impossible. But again, just that confidence that he knew he was going to fulfill, again, the ultimate server, because he was on a mission and he knew failure is not an option. That's mind-blowing, that follow me on a path that hasn't been connected yet. That's just crazy. And again, the confidence of the ultimate server that he knew he was going to fulfill.
What stood out to me, or really, I guess, like you said, there's so much good stuff, even where this is located in the Bible, right? Like everything that Jesus says, especially to his disciples, right? Because he would say some things to the crowds, and then there was always more conversation that would be had between Jesus and his disciples. But you harped on it just a little bit, but it says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. That is what this entire walk is about, is denying yourself and carrying your cross, right? And so not only is Jesus making the picture clear, right? What does it even mean to deny yourself, right? It means that everything about us by nature is sinful. Every desire that we have, everything that looks good to us, everything that we would naturally pursue is sinful. It goes against who God is and what he desires for us. So for me to deny myself means that I am literally choosing God to choose you before me, right? So when my mind says I want to go do X thing, right? Whether, even if it's right, like if you think about like the money perspective of it, right? Because that's what we're talking about. And we're talking about the fact that budgeting is not comfortable. And I can't wait to get to the part where we talk about where I think a lot of people have dropped off, where it's like, oh, I'm so excited to start this with you guys. And again, not to get too much ahead, but there's a part where a lot of people, that's where it stops because it's not comfortable, right? And so that is what the entire Christian walk is. It's literally choosing to say, yes, I have my own desires that are all sinful, but God, what does your word say? And how would you lead me? And that is the way I will go, no matter what my mind says, no matter what my own desires are, right? Until he changes them to fit his desires. And take up your cross. So there's a part that you play too, not just denying yourself, but there's something that you carry along this path that makes it all work together too, right? And so I feel like, honestly, we're like I can't remember when we put this kind of rubric together, but I was just going to say, like, it was so fitting for the fact that something as simple as budgeting, right? And where the world says, oh no, it's not necessary. And God is like, wait, have you not read my word where I have given you so much instruction? I have shown you the kind of God that I am. I am a God of order. I am a God of discipline. I am all these things, but the world would have you believe that it's not that deep. You don't have to do any of that, right? Deny yourself. In every area of your life, deny yourself. Eating, deny yourself, right? Spending because the world says to spend, deny yourself. There is a sacrifice. One thing we haven't said, and we'll have to do an episode and then we have to move on, right? But why? Because the other things that God has commanded us to do and be from a resources or money perspective, you cannot fully do if you don't start with the discipline. Like what? Like being generous. How can you be a cheerful giver, which God is clear, right? He loves a cheerful giver. I don't want you to just give, but I want your heart posture to be right about it, right? But if I'm piled up in debt and I don't even know how, I'm going to pay X bill this month, how can I be a cheerful giver, right? And so it's like it all works together. There are so many reasons that the Lord has commanded us to be disciplined, and deny yourself. Either that or you're not ready for this walk. So, all right. So again, today we're going over a really high level overview of just budgeting, right? So 5 points that we want to hit, and I'll just go over them really quickly and then you can start with one, okay? So number one, we're going to talk about your mindset. That is the first and foremost step before we can even talk about what budgeting looks like and what it means. Number two, there are some preliminary steps, right, that have to take place before you actually put a budget in place. And we'll talk about why. Why are these steps necessary? Number three is creating a budget, right? And so we'll share some resources here in the section. 4 is to make a plan, and then 5 is to execute the plan. So let's start with 1, mindset.
So, mindset. It's not a coincidence that this is number 1, because this is the most important thing out the gate. This is your foundation, because you can have the income, you can have your accounts in order, you can have the expenses in order, you can have everything on the paper, you can have all of this, your why, kids, all that. But if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have the right mindset, I can guarantee your budget is gonna fail. Okay, because like, same thing. Jesus in Luke tells his disciples, count the cost. And, some people preach it from like a material standpoint, but what he's really saying is, before you, to be my disciple, before you even do anything, count the cost, because you got to make a decision. Now, the world paints it one way, but what has God said about it, and what's that way look like? And you're gonna, again, deny yourself. You gotta have to make up your mind early on, because there's gonna be, it's gonna be uncomfortable. There's gonna be things that's gonna come up, and you have to make the decision right now. I can't do that, or you're gonna have to deny. And like I said, along this path, there's gonna be others that you may lose. Again, talking about finances, but talking about everything too. Again, you may lose family, you may lose parents, you may lose relationships, you may lose a lot of things, because again, that's what this path is called to, and not everybody is gonna be on board. And that's where you gotta have that mindset and make the decision right now. And that's why it's the most important. So yeah, Jesus get it, and we have to make a decision. And after you have made that decision, now we can get to the why. Because like once you made the decision, and now we get to the why. And again, like we just talked about, like the world will push you want to get rich, you want to have X amount, you want to, culture, trendy things, whatever. But the true why is because God said to. Like the world push one thing, rich, all of that. But what has God called us to? God has called us to not be a slave to debt. And I want you to be free.
To not be borrowers, yep.
And I want you to be free so that you can spread the gospel. So again, that's a decision you have to make, and that's your why. Because again, there's going to be days you're not going to feel like doing it. like there's gonna be times that's come up. You're not gonna feel like doing it, and your why. Again, the world will point I want to be rich because of your kids, because of family. Do it, but that's not sustainable. When your why is because God told me to, and now that's His will for your life, and like you just said, now that's the desire in your heart, and now that will is lined up. He's gonna give you the strength through the Spirit to fulfill, to follow out that discipline, to follow out that will. So, or to follow out that will for your life of, okay, I see you're doing this because I'm instructing you to. Let me help you. Because now, after you do that, when your focus is on Him, everything else is taken care of. So, again, that's where you got to make a decision. Once you have made the decision, now your why lines up with the will of God and your aim stays there. That is going to help you on those days that you don't feel like it. That's going to help you on those times where, somebody may want you to do something and you like, now you want to make a decision. It's like, make up your mind now, because those times are coming. But if you make up your mind on the front end, no, I can't do that. That's not in the budget. And knowing that your purpose is because this is what God wants me to do. And God is going to, along the way, give you the wisdom, give you the strength to carry on. Because again, the other things why the world would say, so you can be a millionaire, so you can be rich, so you can be whatever, that's not gonna make it.
All fades.
It's gonna fade. Like the Bible said, that's gonna fade. But when your why is because God told me to, and again that will lines up, you're gonna have the strength to go on. It's gonna sustain. And again, when that time comes up, that war that goes on between your flesh and your spirit, that's what you're gonna need when that war comes up.
Yeah. And I think we started with mindset because if your mind isn't made up, it's not going to work.
Yes.
If you're going into, okay, I'm going to do this budgeting thing, I'm going to be responsible with my money, disciplined with my money, and you're truly 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I'm telling you now, don't bother. It's not going to work.
You'll start for 2 weeks and then let's get back again because it got uncomfortable. Let's resort back to the things that forget about. That's too tough.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before it doesn't work. So one, make up your mind, and if you're not there, don't even bother, right? Like, don't even bother. Spend time in God's word to get to a place where, all right, I think my mind is made up, right? Don't be double-minded. And the Bible's clear also about that. But again, applying it to finances. Now, the second thing is preliminary steps, right? So like, what are the things that we need to do before we actually put a budget together, and why do we need to do these things? So I'm just going to tell you what I have here. I have track how much is spent on what, every single expense that is hitting your bank account. Why? Because the average consumer, including me and including you, prior to us actually putting this into practice, does not truly know how much they spend and on what. I don't care what kind of mathematician you might be in your head. I am telling you right now that if you do not have a budget as we speak today, if you don't have those figures down, and if it does not account for every single thing that you swipe your card for or that you pay for with cash, you have no idea what anything costs and how much you truly spend on X thing, right? This is the uncovering phase, right? Where it's like, okay, I've never actually done this before, right? I might spend $600 a month on food, combining groceries and eating out. Track it and see how close or far you were, right? The other thing is you're gonna have to dig up, and then you can add comments at the end if you'd like to too. So dig up necessary information. You need the full picture, right? And so this is something that we have learned, and I mentioned this earlier. I think this is where a lot of people drop off, right? So some of our paperwork, some of our clients, our partners, after, they're so excited. And I think part of it is because it sounds good, right? We're like, look, these are some of the success stories that we've had with other people. Here's what we were able to do when we truly started being disciplined, and it all sounds good. But the first thing I always say, right, is make sure your mind is made up, because if it's not, you are not going to put this work into it, and I can't put the discipline in for you. I can tell you how great it would be. I can tell you that the other end is always going to be worth it, but you have to be the one to wake up every single day and be willing to stick to what you're about to do, right? So what kind of information do we need to dig up that I think most people don't actually have prior to doing a budget? You need every single kind of total balance you can think of, right? So for example, most people, when you talk to them from a car payment perspective, they know what their car payment is, but how much do you have left and what is your interest rate? Oh, I don't know. Let me go find some paperwork. It matters, right? And I'm not saying these are things that we should all just boom, boom, know right off the top of our head, but I'm saying that it requires digging up all of this information so that you can properly do a budget. I did say interest amount, so that's huge, because there are so many loans, there are so many just payment plans that do have interest, and we don't actually know what's hitting us the hardest, right? Like I might know, okay, out of the 5 credit cards, which that would be an issue to begin with, but if I have 5 credit cards and I have balances on them, even if they are small, right? And if I'm not paying it off before interest hits, which card is hitting you the hardest? Like if you're not looking at that day in and day out, you don't know, right? And this comes into play later on, right? Like, why would I pay off Discover before I pay off Chase, even though it's a smaller amount? The interest rate. So it all goes together. Due dates. And we'll get more into this in a different episode, but we need to know the due dates, right? Not just around, but like what actual day do these things come out? I think when it comes to the bigger payments, people do have an idea of when these things are due, but I think through experience, what people don't always know are the smaller fees. Oh, well, my Apple Music, I'm not sure because it's so cheap, right? I don't know when that comes out. Oh, and my Netflix. Oh, and my Spotify and my Google Music and all of these things. And again, it all matters. So you will have to spend time digging up the total balances, the interest amounts, the due dates. And then the other thing that we ask is like, what is past due? And if something is past due, right? Because that also helps with prioritizing what's going to be paid and in what order. But again, guys, this is truly, in my opinion, and I want to actually hear your opinion. In my opinion, this is where people drop off. When we send the paperwork, it's all good. It's all good, right? Like those initial conversations with people, when they're like, yeah, like I'm tired of living this way. I don't want to be a slave to my money. It sounds good that yeah, maybe I do actually have an extra $2,000 a month that I could put into savings, right? But when you send that paperwork and it's asking for all of these details, people are like, oh no. Why do you need all of that? And 2, I don't even know, right? Not only that, I just don't want to spend the time to look at all of this information and put it down for you. Right? Like, that's the thing. And so this is why, going back to your mindset, if your mind is not made up, when it requires this much labor, you're going to bounce. You're going to bounce. What do you think about that? In terms of people, like, how many times has that happened?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Because like you said, when it turns back to, okay, it's going to require a little bit more. Because we can't do that.
Yeah,
it's going to require you to, it's going to require logins. They might call you, some people had to call and be like, yeah, I don't know, but I can call. And it's like to properly do the budget and for us to fully get everything. Like you said, all of that matters. And if you don't get all of those things, your budget is probably gonna fail because again, you're gonna either not account for something or you might pay something off in the wrong order. And people, without all the information, you try to do a budget, people still drown and they don't know it.
You can have a budget and still be drowning. 1,000%.
People still drown and don't know it. So again, that's why it's like all of this, you, as the person that's giving it, you might be like, why do they need all this? But actually doing it, and then once we get it and we break it down for the people that we have broken it down to, and they like, that makes sense. So it's like, that's why we, and then it turns into, what else you need?
Yeah.
Like you just helped me save how much? What else? I did it the next day. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, and
and we have some people like that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not to drag it on, but yeah, I agree, and that's why.
Yeah. All right. So that was creating a budget, and then 4, make a plan.
You did 2.
I did
I'm
2.
going 3.
Okay, 3, creating a budget.
creating a budget. So this is where you put everything down on paper. So this is how much money you make, not just including what you make on your job. So if you're getting alimony, if you're getting child support, if you got a side job, if you're getting any sort of income, you need to have it all down, even to the expense side. Everything from loans, credit cards, hair,
nails, eyebrows, the whole nine. Yes.
waxes, Starbucks, donuts, whatever your coffee, I'm saying, but literally subscriptions, like you said, if it's $1, well, it doesn't matter, 99 cents, put it all down, because again, this is where God made us managers from the beginning. And when he told Adam to name everything, Adam had to name every single thing. So this is what we're founding on. You're doing the exact same thing. You're putting every single thing down, because when your check comes in, you need to assign it or assign the amount, and so you know where everything is going. Take everything for account. And there's two things that we want you to add to this when creating a budget. You're gonna break out a personal allowance, and you're gonna break out savings. Those two things are not optional, because I know some people create a budget and they'll do you gotta eat peanut butter and jelly for the next 3-4 years. You can't eat at restaurants. Your budget also got to be realistic, otherwise it'll fail, because your budget shouldn't feel like a prison. You shouldn't be miserable in doing the budget. So that's why you're gonna have a personal allowance. But that personal allowance, if you are eating or drinking Starbucks, in your personal allowance, you still shouldn't be able to go to Starbucks every day. That should crack down to once, maybe twice a week. So that personal allowance is supposed to be an amount set on it that also supposed to stretch you. And again, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's supposed to challenge you, because now you're taking control of that unnecessary spending, and you're putting a category on it and saying you only have X amount to spend on unnecessary or extra things like that. And this is gonna help you budget. And on the flip side, the same thing with savings. Even if right now you can only put $5 to savings, that is absolutely fine. Start with that $5, because again, with this step, what we're doing,
building muscle.
You are breaking a habit and starting new habits, and it's going to take you a while to break that habit, but you're building that muscle and just now getting into the routine of every time something come in, every 2 weeks, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whenever you get paid, every time that check come in, you know what is going out to which account, what's going to personal allowance, and what's going to savings. Because what you're doing here, we are doing a lifestyle change. And that's what, don't get frustrated. Like I said, if it's only $5, you might not even be putting anything to savings right now. Again, it's fine, because you are doing a lifestyle change, and it's gonna take time to break those habits and create new ones, and just trust the process that savings will increase. Even like I said with the personal allowance, it's gonna challenge you, and you might, like, whatever amount you set, you might not hit it in the first few times, but over time you're gonna get used to, only drinking Starbucks once a week. I can do that. Or whatever it is. Again, you're gonna now build that muscle, and it's gonna be a lifestyle change. And yeah, that's what we do. And again, that's what God has called us to. Put everything. You're a manager, and you are managing every single thing, and include those two things.
Yep. Your response kind of bled into the next one, which is perfect. So make a plan, right? So we talked about really putting everything down, like you're saying, assigning every dollar basically, right? But once you do that, what that does allow you to do is to put a plan in place, right? If you realize that, oh wait, I have like 7 subscriptions and they all do the same thing. Maybe I can have Starbucks twice, right? Now let me cut some of these subscriptions out. Which ones are my favorite? Which ones can I really, if we're being honest, you can afford to cut all of them off. That's being very honest. But
we don't want you to be in prison.
Yeah, we're not saying. So I'm saying, if you have 7 subscriptions that are all television related, pick your favorite one. Yep. Cancel those 6, right? And now look, you
just freed up $40 right there.
Now you can have Starbucks twice a week, right? And guess what? Now you have money to put into a savings. So it's not, I just want to point out that I think a lot of times the way that people do personal allowance and savings is, let me put all of my bills down. That's the total. What's left over? Okay, now I have this amount left after my bills are, paid. I have this chunk of money left until the next time I get paid. That is not a budget, right? Every dollar should be assigned, which means
every dollar.
Just like you pay your bills, your personal allowance has a cap. It has a limit. It means that, just again, sharing a little bit of our story, when we first started doing this, however many years ago, my first budget was $75 every 2 weeks, right? Or was it every week? I mean, what was it? $75.
Wasn't it 70 a week? It wasn't.
Okay, I think it was 70 a week. You're right, because it was like 150 every 2. Okay,
75 2 weeks.
So I was,
you ain't doing that.
So I was getting paid bi-weekly at that time. And so my budget, or my personal allowance, was $70 a week. Now this is back when we were still in the office working, and my complex, like where my job was at this time, had a Starbucks in the development.
Panera.
And a Panera. And I wasn't disciplined.
Juice.
And I wasn't disciplined at all. So $70 a week. I feel like when people hear that, it's like, what? I can do that.
She was gonna die.
70 is great. I'm telling you right now, if you have not counted, if you have not put this down, you're gonna be borderline about to die at 70. But my point is, now fast forward a couple years later, I might have one Starbucks drink a month, if that. I make my coffee at home, and it's just it really, like you said, it changes. Yes, entire change. Because no, I'm not going to be in debt, and I'm not going to not have a savings for the sake of something that is so temporary. Another thing, and again, same thing back then, right? Oh, it was so difficult trying to figure out where I'm going to put in the money for like getting my nails done back then. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But all I'm saying is, if you don't have a savings and you are getting your nails done, and I'm saying this because, again, like I went through that, right? There's a problem there, right? So find a creative way. I went and I ordered a $50 kit from Amazon, and I started doing my nails myself, right? So when I want to have my nails done, that's what I do. And I'm not saying, if you get to a point where you're not struggling to have a certain savings and all of that, I am not saying that you can't go and get your nails done. But there is a problem when you're telling me that you have mountains and mountains of debt, but you won't stop getting your nails done. And you have $0 in your savings account, but your nails are always done. Yeah. Priorities are not in order. And so that, I want to make sure we're driving that point, and not saying that there's anything wrong with doing something nice for yourself. Mm-hmm. Do it in a disciplined way, and get to the point where, you know what, I really like getting my nails done, right? And let me hustle to implement this discipline and implement this savings, and so that I can always do that, and it doesn't impact anything else, right? It doesn't impact me having debt. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. So again, in decency and in order, right?
But that's where that sacrifice comes in too, because like you say, And the way that a budget is set up, because like you said, what you want to do with a budget is to get you on track. If you are in a hole, this is a plan to get you out of that hole, get you on track, and you might have to cut out, nails or subscriptions or whatever. But this is, again, a temporary thing, because you also shouldn't be on this strict budget for 10 years. Like this, most people that we design a budget for, you unpaid all your debt off between like 6 months and 3 years. Mm-hmm. And now after that, and again, you shouldn't then, after the 3 years and everything paid off, like, oh, I'm about to go run wild now. Mm-hmm. But because you still should have the discipline. But now you can open back up to, I can go to Starbucks 3 times now. Or now you, again, priority, you have the space, and you not straining yourself, or it's like, I'm doing this, but I'm not taking care of, like I said, prioritizing taking care of things. So just to add on to what you were saying.
Yeah, so just to circle back, basically, is also having a check breakdown. You should know exactly what is going to happen every time a paycheck hits.
Yep.
It's not, okay, pay my bills and then there's this leftover balance. No, whatever you have left over should also be assigned. A savings is not optional. Cut some things out to get the savings going. And then 2, your personal spending, the nice to haves, right? All the personal care stuff, the Starbucks drinks, all those things fall within what we call a personal allowance. And it has to have a cap. You cannot, I think that's the hardest part is we're going back to the beginning, right? Denying yourself that not everything you want, you need. And so this process of getting to the place where it's like, all right, I'm going to do this budget and I'm going to stick to it. When you make your mind up, that's where like everything just changes from there. Everything just changes from there. And it, like you said, it is truly a lifestyle change that says, oh, denying myself is nothing. No, I don't need to go out to eat every single day. Like I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to meal prep and I'm going to, like it pours into everything else. And we'll share in a different podcast, just like how truly I feel like it truly does, like, and we can share, specifics, but, number 5 is execute, which is really just stick to the plan. And I don't even want to harp on this too much because if which is that mindset, the very first thing, if the mindset is there, if you are tired of being a slave to your money and you're ready to tell your money what to do, executing won't be difficult. It won't, because you went through that mental war at the beginning and your mind is made up.
And I was just gonna say, like you said, mindset. There's a difference from like, I'm doing this for somebody else or I'm doing this to reach a certain goal. And then when you say, I'm doing this for God, just that in itself, again, Jesus was the ultimate server. Jesus, I'm a servant. I was sent on a mission. I'm doing it for the Father. So the same thing, and he was the example we're supposed to take after him. So the same thing, we're servants. And when your why is, because I want to do what God has called me to do. I want to fulfill, like I want to please God in that way. And again, he's going to see you trying and he's going to give you the strength through the Spirit. And man, like it's, guys, again, like she said, the mindset, once you do that, and when your why is because your will be done, the same thing with Jesus. When he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, like when he went and 3 times he asked the cup to be passed, and there was confirmation. Once he said, not my will, your will, and he knew this is what the Father wanted, he said, it's time.
Show enough.
Let's go. Like he got up and he said, the time has come. All the way up to that point, he had talked about it and he said, it's not time yet. My time hasn't come. After he left that garden, it's time. And he goes, Judas comes to him and he says, do what you're going to do. Do it quickly.
Yeah.
It's time. And again, he made his mind up. And the reason, again, mindset, this was before the cross. This was before everything that was going to happen. This was before the grave. This was before him getting up, going to the right hand. Like, that why, guys. That even just that why, just to know I'm doing it for God and everything else will be taken care of. Like, that in itself should be enough to help you execute. And again, you're going to start to see the results. And again, you might not see the big change in the beginning, but when you look into your savings account, you're like, oh, I got that $1,000 there. And then a few more months, oh, I got $5,000 there. Oh, I paid my car off. Oh, and you start to see, I don't know if you want to share it now, but just how like when we kind of first started, you kind of wasn't on board, but then once you saw things going, you like,
that's right. Yeah,
another
we can
podcast?
share that in a different podcast.
Okay. But yeah, once you start to see that plan working, then you're going to get momentum even that, because you're going to get excited about, oh man, now there's $2,000, $5,000. Oh, now I can go buy a car in cash. Now I got the down payment for the house. Now, hey, all I have is my house left. I paid off the car. I don't have no more loans. I don't have no more credit cards. Lifestyle change.
Yep.
Lifestyle change.
Yep. So again, we are here to walk this journey with you. This is just the first episode of the entire budgeting series. Next time we're going to cover subscriptions and memberships. So again, if you are, getting ready to do this or haven't done it yet, this is literally video by video. You will be able to go through the exact same process that we go through with our partners / clients. Again, we're building an army. We're building an army, and for God, with God, obviously.
God will.
With God, obviously, as the leader. And so, yeah, you're not in it alone. We're going to do this. And so, yeah, next time we'll talk about subscriptions and memberships. Pow.